The only way to create new habits is to let go of old habits that aren't giving you any positive results in your life. And letting go of what does not work is not less than an art form, in my experience. In fact, the hardest part of transformation and change is simply stepping into the new while letting go of the old habits, belief systems, and values. What often ends up happening is that many people create these New Year's resolutions without doing the inner work first, the work to let go of those old habits and ways of being. And as a result of not doing that inner work first, they end up pushing hard to keep this new habit alive while struggling to let go of the old. This constant push and pull creates too much stress and ultimately leads them to not being able to sustain the new habit. Yo-yo dieting is a prime example of this. In this rather detailed video, I will explain step by step how you can create and maintain new habits successfully. So make sure to grab a cup of tea and get ready to take some notes. Namaste and welcome to my channel. My name is Bhavna. I started this channel so I could create a sacred space online where people would stop by, pick up a new tool that would upgrade their consciousness and transform their life. And if you have found my videos useful thus far, please share them. Others just like you are looking for ways to up-level their experience on this beautiful planet. When I started my channel, the first video I posted was about how to surrender, and I'll post a link. I spoke in that video about why it's so important to surrender to this moment to move on to the next, but certain important details were left missing. The point of this video is to fill that gap. I have been receiving very clear downloads about how we can let go easily, and today I will share those with you, so make sure you take notes. To create new habits, you need to first understand why you keep holding on to old ones. Because until you really understand the frequency behind that old habit, you will continue to try to run both versions of your habits. For example, you'll go on a sugar-free diet, but at the same time have those days where you binge on everything sugar, essentially leaving your new habit you want to develop ineffective. However, once you understand the emotion tied to your old habit, you can use that same emotion to release yourself from the habit that you find yourself bound to. And perhaps you can go deeper and observe what triggers you before your habit is activated. Feel free to check out my video explaining patterns and what you can do about them. Learning to let go has been my toughest, most challenging lesson through my personal transformation. I am still working on letting go, but in a more efficient manner. Letting go is basically a form of deep surrender where you simply observe whatever is going on in your life without reacting or getting emotionally charged. And over time and a lot of frequency work later, I have finally detached from so many identities that were keeping me comfortably suffering. Doing so has helped me become more comfortable with the concept of true detachment that doesn't involve sacrificing myself. And that is the level of detachment needed to make long-lasting change with new habits and upgraded beliefs and values. The reason that detachment followed by letting go of old habits is so damn difficult for so many is that pushing change is really hard. Always using force to make change or using willpower incorrectly results in exhaustion, and those old habits return even faster. So ask yourself if you're trying to force change, or is stepping into the new you seamless and natural for you? If you're forcing the change, chances are you aren't strong enough to hold the change. On the other hand, if the change happens organically for you, you will find inner strength to stabilize in that new version of you. There are a few less talked about ingredients to creating long-lasting change. The first main ingredient, in my opinion, is that you learn to understand where you are frequency-wise. You learn about what reality you're operating in and what patterns are playing out in your reality. Because the goal is to drop the frequency and the many layers of it so you can embody the frequency of the person you want to become. The second and equally important ingredient is that you learn to observe yourself when your survival mechanism is activated by an external event. Instead of rushing towards your old habits that really help you only cope with your emotions, you observe what's coming up for you so you give yourself a chance to change up your habits. For example, you may want to meditate every day, but you find that either you sleep in or you're being disturbed in your current environment. In this case, you would have to learn to observe yourself to understand the reality that you have created around you so that you can change it. The third ingredient I want to discuss is courage. The courage to create a brand new reality, even if you're stuck in the old and aren't quite ready to let go. The same strength you use to cover up your current issues by distracting yourself on end, use the same strength to go in the exact opposite direction to create a reality that you can move into when you are mentally ready to drop the old identity. Imagine if you had to leave your home without having another place to stay in. You would obviously resist leaving because you do not have a place to stay. However, if you have a new version created that's strong enough to hold your new identity, you can easily let go. Letting go uses all these ingredients to let go of the old identity, which is made up of frequencies and patterns that you no longer need. You need to first observe the frequency you resonate in. Then you create a new identity, and when you are strong enough, you shed the old and move into the new. It's that simple. I used to be a perpetual underdog, always coming out on top after struggling in silence. It was an exhausting way to live for me. I found that many a times I would almost boast about my struggles once I had conquered them. I wore my struggles like badges of honor. Eventually, I realized that if I kept on solidifying that identity of the victorious underdog, I would never be able to create a reality in which there was no struggle. At least no struggle worth talking about. That was a very uncomfortable realization for me because my whole life story was simply an account of struggle after struggle after struggle. It gave my life meaning and purpose and provided inspiration for me to overcome the next struggle. I am sure you can see the problem with this way of being. I was too attached to my identity, in which I had to struggle to feel good about myself. Similarly, if you are defining yourself by your past, you're not going to be able to move into a future unlike your past. To really create new habits and a new life where you stop struggling to achieve your dreams, you need to let go of the emotions that are keeping you attached to that story. I have a video that will help you understand your emotions, and I will attach it below. Your emotions keep you anchored into your story, and that is what solidifies your identity even more. And your ego will not let you discard an old identity unless you release the underlying patterns and emotions keeping your identity intact. I do appreciate this work is not easy. It takes immense courage to let go of your comfort zone. For example, if your identity is simply a survival mechanism to deal with the abuse in your life, your identity is helping you cope. And why would your ego get rid of that identity? Because removing that identity might create more abusive situations for you. Your ego is keeping you safe. This is why we need to understand the frequencies we run and work from the inside out. And then eventually it becomes extremely easy to let go of identities that we create to cope in this world. Listen, you're not going to be able to change your past. I haven't found a way around that yet. But what I have done is I've detached myself from my story, the emotions that kept me tied to that story of struggle and victory. and I have found a new identity that is rather unknown to me. I'm still discovering who I am while being detached from who I was. That is true freedom in my books. Your experience here in the physical is a gauge of your spiritual expression in the non-physical. Your experience here is not a determination of who you are. It simply shows you where you are and how far you are from where you want to be, your most authentic self. But of course, you can't just let go of that easily because you do not have a new identity to step into. And you have deep layers of trauma keeping you in fear of those stories repeating themselves. So what can you do to really let go? Practice this surrender exercise to let go and watch the magic unfold. The only reason you're not able to let go of repetitive thoughts, that abuse, that relationship, your bad luck, or anything that you would wish to change, is that you're holding on to the frequency that keeps those patterns repeating in your life. Once you upgrade to a higher understanding of the frequency you're running, you will start to observe yourself from a higher vantage point and eventually be able to let go. You will stop judging people or events in your life that made your life a struggle. Let me give you an example. Let's say you notice that you don't like the way your friends treat you. Let's say one friend makes this elaborate plan with you to hang out with you and cancels the day off. She does this often and perhaps chooses to hang out with someone else instead. And you realize that you don't really like the way she treats you. You have two options here. You could obviously come clean about your emotions and have a chat with your friend. Perhaps she apologizes, changes her ways, and stops canceling on you. Perhaps she doesn't. Chances are your friendship won't last if one of you is treating the other person with any form of disrespect, and you will start looking for a brand new friendship where you are in fact respected. However, if you still run that frequency of feeling like a victim, you will end up in another situation like before, and the cycle keeps repeating. Your second option is to become a cycle breaker, not by blaming someone else for how you feel, not by judging and gossiping about someone else to make you feel better about your life, not by trying to forgive them every single time and becoming that good person. Instead, you observe how your friend canceling on you triggers you, what emotions, feelings come up, and sit with them. Don't suppress them if you really want to let go of that frequency. Listen to your inner voice and guidance. The key is to not focus on someone else. Take your power back. If you want to blame someone, just don't. Do something about it. Are you angry? Use the anger as momentum to promise yourself that you will do everything you can to understand the frequency that you run that caused that situation to happen in your life. And then practice observing yourself, but in a detached way. I want to make it very clear, this is not victim shaming. This is simply an example you can use to flip that situation to your benefit. This is what I do every single day. If someone or something triggers me, I go deep into observation mode to understand what frequency within me caused something like that to happen to me. And there is an answer every single time. When you start looking within yourself, you will feel frustrated because looking into the mirror is not easy. You're going to need to step out of your comfort zone to look at that mirror and look in your eyes, to stare truth in the face. In the beginning, you would perhaps like to work with someone that can hold that space for you, but eventually you're going to have to do this yourself. You're going to make it a daily practice, like drinking water or eating well. I have a more advanced exercise that I use for myself to let go, and I share that with clients that work with me privately or in group classes. And if you're just getting started, I have tons of videos that I will link below that you can reference to learn how to transform your reality. By practicing this work, what did you let go of ultimately? You see, this is what I am talking about. If you look from a higher perspective, did you want to let go of your friend or any other relationships that treat you like a doormat? Or perhaps you still want those relationships, but you also want that respect. Those are personal choices, and your choice depends on how much of your life you've spent forgiving somebody else to keep the peace. In my case, I had sacrificed my health before I decided to look at what was causing this level of pain and suffering in my life. Whatever choice you make, remember, if you change the frequency you resonate at, your external reality will have to change. No question about it. More often than not, though, we cannot control how our external environment shifts, but we can definitely change how much energy it receives from us. When you change your frequency, you will find that your friend will want to spend more time with you because you resonate at a higher frequency. Or you would have made another friend that keeps her commitments and values your friendship. What happens when you learn to let go? You flow. It's simple. When I let go of my old identity that was always suffering, always a victim at the hands of another, always a failure and never met her goals, my whole life changed. It felt like I finally started to sync with nature, with the universe. And I started to see proof that I had synced. Decisions became easy for me. I wasn't as confused. Clarity came in just like that. I started to receive messages from my higher self, and I started to get whatever I wished for. And if a goal took time to come to life, I would know what frequency I had to resonate at to make that goal a reality. Now that's power. Before finding this way of life, I was always using force to get things done, pushing to make things happen. Today, I simply have to resonate at the frequency of the reality I want, and it's done. If you would like to manifest your life, the life of your dreams, subscribe to my channel. And if you want to go deeper, visit my website to book a private session. Remember, you always have a choice to stay in the identity that you have created, or choice to wander into the depths of the unknown. Number of possibilities that are available for you all at once. Thank you for watching, and I hope you find what you're looking for.